Let's get right into part 4. We're going to start by cutting down the front half of this shelf. Now there's a couple reasons for doing this. One, this shelf isn't here for you to stack a whole bunch of stuff on. First of all, it's not that sturdy. And second of all, it's there to actually support the legs. Another reason for cutting the front out, it gives us access to our hopper adapter, so we could change out media easily and adjust the metering valve. The easiest way I could demonstrate this is to have taped it out to where we're gonna cut and reinstall with a couple fasteners. We are gonna make our cut just inside the leg here, about an 1/8 inch, and we're gonna cut this part straight, and then we're gonna angler cut all the way back to that rear corner of the opening. So if you can see the gap in the tape, that's where we're going to make our cut. I'll explain later why we're coming in about an 1/8 inch, and we're going to do that on both sides. I would like to also point out that the lip of this shelf is facing down. It doesn't go up. Here's another shot of the back corner. We're going to cut back to that corner right there. I marked where the leg comes to, then I came in about an 1/8 inch and went all the way back to the corner from that point on the top back. I'm using a fine-tooth sheet metal blade. We're now left with a cut edge here that's opened, and we're going to finish it off pretty simply with this. This is the grate that we're not using, so we're going to cut 2 of these ribs out, and we're going to install them on these edges. Now that we have our ribs cut out, we're going to fit them up right here. Back it up into that corner. We're going to trim it so it comes flush with this. So that way it sneaks right in behind that leg. We want to make sure that our channel has true 90-degree bends just for a clean look and good fit up. We're going to use these 5-gallon paint stirring sticks that are about 1/4 inch thick to attach this. Pick these up at Home Depot for under $1. It's a 3-pack. What's nice about these, I don't know if you can see it, but they already have the graduations on them. Make it easier to cut. So we're going to cut these about 1 inch each. We're going to lodge them in behind here, about 3 of them. And what it's going to do, it's going to push this rib up against the surface of the shelf, therefore holding it in place. Pretty simple. Straight from Mike Tacoma tip, right there. I'm going to need about 1 inch to fill in that gap snugly. There we go. Make a couple more of those. Run them down, like 3 on each side, should do it. Okay, here it is, all installed. Nice clean look. Our next modification is going to be cutting this screen down. This is its factory size, just sitting in the box right now. I'd like to first talk about why we're doing this and the benefits of cutting this screen down. One of the very first benefits is that it's going to increase the distance between the screen and your viewing glass. That way, extending the life of your glass since you're not blasting up close to it. You're also going to gain several square inches of usable space inside the box as well. There is no reason to have framework below this screen. This is spring steel. It's very strong. And since we're reducing the size of this screen, it's going to be even stronger. The only thing framework does is collect media, and that's what we're trying to avoid. We also want a simple way of changing out media, especially when you get into the 2-stage blasting. That's where you use one media to do the rough blasting and then a different type media for a finish. You have to be able to easily remove this and brush and change all your media out. An inexpensive 3-inch paintbrush is great for cleaning off areas if there's any media left behind. You don't want to cross-contaminate media, and we'll get more into that later. So the important theory is to be able to change your media, not cross-contaminate it, and do it in a simple way. By having a cut-down screen and no framework, it makes it very easy to clean up the inside of the box and change out your media. Another reason for lowering the screen is to give us a place to put our media and air hoses through here. So we need about 3 inches of additional space in this hopper. We want to measure down about 3 inches into the hopper. So I have this piece of 1/2-inch square bar. I'm just going to come off of that and I'm going to go around and I'm going to make a mark on each corner and I'm going to measure side to side, corner to corner. We will then get the dimensions of what size we're going to cut the screen down to. Got it all marked out in all 4 corners and we'll measure it the best we can, length and width. Let me point out how out of square this screen is. Since we're cutting it down both in length and width, it'd be a good time to square it up. Before we make any cuts, take notice how they have this frame assembled where this flange goes over the long flanges and it's the same way on the other end. And we're going to reassemble it the same way after we cut it down. So my overall finish measurements are 25.5 by 16 3/4. Take in consideration these end pieces and calculate that in before you cut it so it doesn't end up too long. I'm going to get this all marked out. I'm going to mark every single wire, and like I said, this is our opportunity to get this thing squared up. Measure once, cut 3 times. Instead of mutilating these frame pieces, all I did was pull the wires right out of here. I'm going to push them on, trial fit it, and see if we need to do any more trimming. Before I crimp the trim pieces, I wanted to trial fit it, and I'll tell you what, I couldn't ask for a better fit. It lined up with the lines I drew, it looks completely flat, and there's no gaps anywhere around the frame. So I call that a success. We can call this one done. I would also like to add that there is no rule saying you have to have a screen in here. If you need to get a little larger part in here and you need that little bit more space, you could remove this screen. If you're doing the same part over and over again, you could build a little jig that sits in there so you can blast it. Keep in mind, you don't have to have a screen. It's not necessary. There's no laws or rules on it. Another thing to keep in mind, we're not going to be putting 40 pounds of blast media in here. This system is so efficient that you're only going to need 2 or 3 cups of blast media, and that pretty much just fills up the hopper adapter. That's about it. So you'll have all this extra space to use if you need it. This is going to be a wrap for part 4. In part 5, we're going to install the door skirt kit and the cuff kit. So until then, see ya.